Welcome to another live broadcast of commentary while driving. This might just become a regular habit as I tend to get bored easily while driving and find it interesting, funny, hilarious, and all around amusing to myself anyways to broadcast while driving. Now, caveat is that I am entering the final phase of my trip home to Indiana for the New Year's holiday. The reason that is a caveat is because the closer I get to home base in Indiana, the poorer the cell phone signal quality gets. Since I am streaming this live over a cell phone signal over the network, it might just make the broadcast cut out. So, that's the caveat. Now, before we got so rudely interrupted by the cell phone canceling our broadcast, you see what happened is that the last broadcast that I sent, the one where I rambled on for nearly an hour, the cell phone decided to freeze the broadcast. The app crashed, losing the entire recording. It never got recorded, never got saved, and so that wonderful hour of wonderfully insightful intellect is lost into the sands of time. For all eternity, those words will never be heard again, saved only in the memory of you, my dear listeners. Alright, that sounded a bit far-fetched and probably was. That's my explanation for what happened for the last broadcast. So this broadcast, I shall make sure I stop it correctly so that way the recording can be reserved. That being said, I was at a crucial juncture in my previous monologue, my previous broadcast, which I wanted to share to enlighten you, the world, the viewers, the listeners, about the inner workings of the male mind. And I find this to be a pattern across different men, across men as a species in general, not just this particular male. That is, we need to be doing something while talking. We need to be otherwise occupied with some menial, trivial task while talking. The reason for this is, and this is the analogy that I was going for when we last got disconnected. The analogy I was going with is your car. And I happen to be driving a car, so this analogy is particularly poignant at this point in time. The analogy is, if you put your car in neutral, you turn the car on, put it in neutral, and then you press the gas, what happens? Well, you hear your engine spin up. You hear it spin up abnormally loud. The tachometer goes up abnormally high. Why is that? That's because you've disconnected via putting the transmission in neutral. You've disconnected the engine from the load that it is designed to carry. You put it in a neutral state where it is not exercising itself to the fullest of its capabilities. It is spinning way too fast, way too high. And that spin you hear from the engine is just begging to be used to the fullest of its capacity. It's designed to be driving a car, driving the vehicle, pulling the engine. The strength of the engine is designed to be pushing forward the weight of the car. It's designed to be used. All right, take that analogy. Take that imagery you have a car being put into neutral and then revving the gas, and shift that over to a man in conversation, a man with such an intellect as just mine. You can roll your eyes all you want. So it's all right. So you see, the case, as the case may be, is when talking, when having a conversation, there's just such raw processing power going on between these very large ears that it's like an engine in neutral. It needs to have some load on the engine to keep the engine in check, to be able to give it something to do. Hence why it's so beneficial for the males among us who suffer from this syndrome of awesomeness, that we must be doing something while we talk, while we have conversation of a relational variety. That stemmed off of the case where I was telling you that I like to knit while talking on the phone because that gives me something to do. It occupies that otherwise unused portion of my brain. One could argue that there's many portions which are unoccupied. However, that's another case. That was supposed to sound like a self-deprecating insult. Didn't quite come out that way. I realize that. Anyway, the case is, the illustration is, what I want you to understand is that there's a reason why we like to, as men, be driving while we talk with you, or perhaps going for a walk with you while we talk with you. or knitting, as the case is sometimes. That's why I have this little, gray, ugly yarn sitting beside my coffee table at home, where I'll knit and talk on the phone. So that's the case. There's just such immense processing power going on up here that the conversing only takes a little bit of the processing power. So it's like the rest of our brain processing power is revving up like that engine without a load. Engine sitting in neutral. It needs something to do to keep itself busy. So if you balance it out with talking and something else, there's just enough load on it to keep it in check, to keep it doing something else. Because otherwise, our brain spins out of control. It's like we'll start thinking about sports or something else. I don't sport, so I don't know these things. I might think about computers or something. I don't know. The point is that when you're dealing with a man of such incredible intellect, you must give him grace as he does other things. Okay, listening to myself makes me laugh. I can't imagine how bored you must be listening to me, but you know what? That's okay. It's all right. You chose to tune into this broadcast or watch this recording. Pity